So in today's video, we're going to be taking apart and rebuilding this pair of boots that are from the Truman Boot Company. This is the first pair of boots I've done from the Truman Boot Company, and it's going to be an interesting one. From first look, they are 270 welted with a nailed heel. They've got a leather heel stack. They have got a thick leather midsole, and then they have got a what looks like the Goodyear Commando, but it won't be exactly that one, but very similar with the heavy tread, more towards the middle, and it's stitched right through the welts, the midsole, and the sole itself. They've also got a full-length sock liner inside, which is nice. So instead of just having a little piece over the heel to cover the nails, there is a full-length sock liner inside of these so that you can't see the nails that are holding the heel on. So yeah, the customers asked for the stacked soles, which is becoming an extremely popular sole package on these. So that will mean fitting a, well, actually, he's asked for storm welts and a new rand. The rand is going to be oversized and then stitched the full 360 with the welts to give a slightly wider, more beefy profile. And then we're going for the beige wedge sole with the tobacco coloured Jankaut 1220 sole on the bottom of that. So this will be an interesting one, and let's get started. Unfortunately, I wasn't filming this boot when I took it apart, and the gemming has separated from the footbed in a lot of places. So I've actually taken the footbed out as far as this so I can glue the gemming back on there. But it did give me the opportunity, whilst it was apart, to have a look at how that footbed and what I thought was a sock liner, well, it is a sock liner, is put together. So the footbed on these is about 4.5 mil, which is about a millimeter thicker than it is on the Red Wings, and then that one is 2 mil. So there is a super dense, super durable, probably pretty hard footbed in there, and then on top of that there is some super fibrous and very, very soft sock liner stuck on top of that. So you're getting everything. There's a lot of leather to stand on, but at around 6 mil. But yeah, 2 mil of that is super soft, and then the other 4 is durable. So clever way of doing it. So that is everything on this pair of Truman boots. When these first came in, they were 270-degree welted with a leather midsole, a commando style sole, a stacked leather heel, and a separate heel top. That heel was nailed on, so these were nailed at the heel. They have now got a 270-degree welt, but it is a storm welt now, rather than the flat welt that they had originally. A leather midsole, a wedge sole, and then they have got the 12-20 letter left Jankaut sole on top of that, which is the Mont compound, which is extremely durable. It's a fantastic sole system to put on this. So this is the stacked sole system off of our website. The main difference here is that the wedge sole needed something in order to be supportive at the back of the boot. If you left it super narrow, that wedge sole is soft, so you would roll around on it if it was particularly narrow. So in order for it to be wider at the heel, there needed to be some material above it. So the rand on this is oversized. So I took a piece of leather the same thickness as the welt, skived the welts and that oversized heel rand so that they are a continuous thickness from the side profile, and then stitched that oversized heel rand to the midsole. That midsole is then nailed very securely to the footbeds. So it's the same nailed construction as they were originally, but aesthetically it appears to have a 360-degree welt, at least a stitch. I was personally interested as to whether having two whole soles, so a wedge sole and then a secondary sole on top of that, would actually make the boots heavier, because that could be a con against this particular package. So I weighed the boots when they first came in, and then I weighed them afterwards once all the work was done to see what the weight difference actually was. And this way around, so with a wedge sole and a secondary sole on top of that, bear in mind that this is one of the heavier secondary soles that you could fit. The 1220 unit Mont compound at 8mm thick is one of the heavier secondary soles that you could put on. They're actually 200 grams per boot lighter, so you're very close to half a kilo less when you're walking around with this particular sole system instead of having a commando style sole with this stacked leather heel. So if you were looking to make your boots lighter, this is still a very viable option. The stacked sole package is massively popular at the moment for me. I am fitting it to lots of different types of boots. I think that comes down to the fact that you get the best of both worlds with this particular package. You get all of the cushioning and comfort of a wedge sole, but with the added durability and wear resistance of that secondary sole. So the wedge sole is a very light, very soft type of foam, which is fantastic for comfort, all day wear. But if you drag your heels or scuff your feet at all, you will wear through them quite quickly. That is applicable to most foam or blown rubber wedge soles, including the original Red Wing and the Thorogood soles, although those are both, I think, polyurethane, which is slightly more durable, but it is heavier and harder, so slightly less comfortable than the Vibram Christie wedge. To compensate for that excessive wear, you put this secondary sole onto the bottom, which is a much more durable compound, and you get added grip. So I don't know if you've ever gone from a wet car park into a shop using a wedge sole. Those first few steps are pretty nerve-wracking. If they've soaked up a little bit of water, it's like walking on ice. Whereas with the secondary sole, particularly in the City XS compound, it's incredibly grippy. As always, I'll include a link in the description below that will take you to the website where you will find this exact stacked sole package along with a whole bunch of others. In particular, I've added a lot of options to the stacked soles recently, so there's lots of color choices both for the wedge and for the secondary sole. I've also added some new types of welt, which was pretty exciting. So yeah, there's that. I'll also include a discount code, which will get you 10% off of all resoles ordered through the website. So I think that's everything, and I'll see you in the next one.